Dungeon Dragon. Flights, like a Dungeon Dragon. Flights, like a. Flight boss, bitch. You know, for sure. You're now listening to the Mind of and Terry's Moon. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties of motherfucking responsibilities. And right now, I want to talk about consciousness is not everything. Consciousness is not everything. Like, I don't know where this big misconception is coming from. I was just watching a group of scientists discuss consciousness, and they was talking about it like how this is the most sacred to life, and how we need to figure out what consciousness is, and once we figure out what this, that, and the third, aka a bunch of rhetoric and lostness. Now, I don't even know where the fuck that comes from. Matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you as Archangel Uriel, consciousness ain't shit. Consciousness ain't all that. Matter of fact, you doing more of a detriment to yourself being too conscious. Having too much goddamn consciousness. Now we're gonna break this shit the fuck down, because I don't think motherfuckers understand this shit. Motherfuckers think I'm just sitting here smoking, getting hot, talking about some goddamn shit that don't make sense. But it's gonna motherfucker resonate with your soul once you finish watching this goddamn video. And that's on motherfucker Archangel Uriel. Now check this the fuck out. This is what you need to understand. Everything is really about the subconscious. The subconscious. Now, here go my left brain logic, niggas. I feel y'all spirit. I feel it. So I'm going to go ahead and attack that. Listen, don't get lost in your scientific terms and your words and phrases and shit like that. Because when you hear subconscious, you're going to get lost into what conscious mean and what you have been told or taught what conscious mean, and still correlate it to like, okay, flight boss, that's still some form of consciousness. But here's, no, you need to experience that energy to know for yourself, to know that when we put words and titles and symbols and signs on certain energy signatures, we create limitations. So you end up having a limited understanding of what's actually happening when you hear terms like the subconscious. But the word sub in front of it is there for a fucking reason. Submarine, going in something, going into motherfucking water. Now what do I mean by that, right? The subconscious is everything, but it's not a form of the scientific term of consciousness. Why not? Because the subconscious is related, and it deals more with what you resonate with. So it's almost like natural selection. You get what I'm saying? It's almost like natural selection. So it comes first. So you have to receive something before you can even be aware of it, before you can even be consciously aware of it, before you can even be conscious of it. That's why when you are a baby, you have little conscious. So you're not consciously aware of everything that an adult may be conscious of. So that's letting you know that this is something that you're building upon. And aka, you can't build nothing in this realm of reality without a form of light. And once you take that light and make it more dense and solid, then you have a shape and form that what we call a light body in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. And that will be your form of consciousness, to be consciously aware of yourself through that astral travel. But let's not escape that yet, because that's like the ending. Let's talk about the motherfucking subconscious. So the subconscious is first. So the conscious word is the limitation that you have to perceive what I'm actually talking about, what I'm talking about right now. You see what I'm saying? But you understand that to be consciously aware of something, you have to perceive something, aka receive something first. That came before the light body that you have in front of you. The layer, the cloth, the clothing, the skin, the tissue, the mental light bodies you created for yourself. Whatever you receive have to hit that first, and those are your light bodies, aka your conscious bodies. And once that what you receive hit that body, then you could be consciously aware of what you just received. So when we're talking about consciousness, conscious is something that we're creating. Conscious is something that we're creating out of our space. Now, and it's energy. It's tied to the energy, the conscious realm, the non-physical to the physical. So when you talk about the subconscious, right? Now look at it like this. You ever seen like the space is your spirit is your space, the space that you're in. So you ever seen like a blank screen, but you see something even blanker moving through it? Or like you ever looked at a drain, like you ever looked at a sink full of water, and then you look at the drain. The drain is the same color as the water, like the little drain is, but it's like moving through that. You get what I'm saying? That's like your spirit. So as your spirit, right, it's going to travel and it's going to connect to what it resonates with. You see what I'm saying? The same frequency vibration. It's going to resonate with the same energy signature. It's going to resonate with it, vibrate with. So you can kind of look at it like in scientific terms. They would call it natural selection. So your spirit would resonate with that. Now through that astral travel, there have been a spirit that was there before you that have already been creating light bodies for itself before you. So you as a spirit, you go through that astral travel and then you create your light bodies, aka your conscious bodies, from that greater conscious body. So you create your lesser, littler versions of of those light bodies to be consciously aware of yourself through that astral travel, aka you're creating conscious bodies. Now this is why you need to understand why you may not be consciously aware of what's going on in another part of the universe, what's going on in another city, what's going on in another state, because you haven't developed that light body, aka that information, that concept to actually travel through that astral realm even when you're not there. Now people may not understand, they too left-brained right now. You might got scientists watching me right now too left-brained. So let me break it down. I like to explain things on the 6th and 5th dimension and 4th dimension, but I know I got a bunch of lost people watching me, so let me break that down on the 3rd dimension. Say you just moved into a neighborhood, right? Now you're not consciously aware what goes on up the street until you start going up the street. Now when you go up the street and start experiencing, aka perceiving, aka receiving the elements and the energy signatures and the vortexes, aka what's going on up the street, you have now developed a concept, an idea, aka a spaceship, a mental form. You have now developed a light body to be consciously aware of what goes on up the street. So even when you're not up the street, you still have some sense, some enlightenment, some direction, some awareness of what goes on up the street. So whether it's a railroad track up the street, or whether it's a light up the street, or a stop sign, you are aware of that now. But you wasn't aware of that before because you didn't have that light body. You didn't experience, you didn't perceive it. So that right there, by default, cancels out consciousness ain't everything. Because you don't have to be consciously aware of everything in your surroundings for you to still exist. So that's letting you off the bat know that consciousness ain't fucking everything. You got stupid people that you are around every day that's just dumb to the fact and unconsciously aware of what the fuck they keep putting themselves into. AKA, they're unconscious in that area of life that they keep putting themselves into. So that's letting you know consciousness by default ain't every fucking thing. And the subconscious, and now I gotta change the subconscious word, because y'all try to argue with me and create debates around that. What I just explained to y'all, don't get lost into the left brain scientific terms of consciousness when you apply to sub, because it really has nothing to do with being consciously aware of something. It just has to do with experience. Then once you experience, you can be consciously aware of that experience and develop a light body, aka a conscious body, to perceive that experience. That's why I went to understand that experience now. And that's what consciousness is. The bodies you create. So you're having a human experience right now. You have a human conscious level. So you're not going to have a God conscious level. You're not going to have an animal conscious level. You're not going to have another type of being conscious level. You're going to have a human conscious level. So the bodies that your spirit, when it went through this astral travel, this group of alignments, the kind of body that you created for yourself, the light bodies, the conscious bodies to be aware of yourself through this astral travel, was a human body, a human conscious. So your conscious is the bodies and the pieces and the mechanisms that you're creating for yourself. So your brain is a conscious, your eye is a conscious, your ear is a conscious, your heart is a conscious. You see what I'm saying? All these are like brains, all these are like stars, all these like organs for yourself. You see what I'm saying? So that's what the conscious is. And if you don't have if you haven't developed, or if you don't have a certain experience within the universe, within a location, then you're not going to have that conscious awareness. So you're either going to have to understand someone else's conscious awareness who have experienced that been there, and you got to develop your science off of that, or you're going to have to actually do it yourself. But at that point, you don't have that part of consciousness to develop an idea or a concept to travel through that astral realm effectively. AKA, when you go through that experience, it'll be a whole new experience for you. So you don't know what to do or what not to do, unless you have gained some information from someone else who have previously done that already, who have experienced that already. And if not, then you're going to be the first one who go off the cliff and be able to tell others who have not. You get what I'm saying? So this is why you have different conscious levels. You have different if conscious was everything, there would be a situation where all spirits within bodies can tap into the same conscious level. But it's not like that. That tells you that conscious is not everything. You have separate consciousness because you have separate spirits that develop their bodies, their light bodies, aka their conscious, to be aware of what they want to be aware of. Now your conscious level may be higher than someone else's, or your conscious level may be lower than someone else's. But that automatically by default tells you that consciousness ain't everything. Because otherwise, if it was everything, this wouldn't even be a discussion. You see what I'm saying? It wouldn't even be a discussion. So that lets you know the subconscious is fucking everything, which you resonate with, and like almost like natural selection. And then once you start to go, and that moves you through that astral travel. That moves you through that space and location. You know what I'm saying? And then once you go through that location, you start to receive the information in that location. Then you take the information that you receive in that location, and now that becomes your light body. That becomes your thought, your light body, your information, your concept, aka your consciousness. Now you're able to be consciously aware of that. So now it plays out as an extra brain piece, or extra brain muscle, or extra piece to your mentality. And then like years and years and years and years to go on, you would then created so many bodies. After you come here, you will have an extra body piece. And that's where evolution comes into play. So consciousness is evolving. You see what I'm saying? Consciousness is not everything. Consciousness didn't start everything. Consciousness didn't create everything. You know what I'm saying? When we talk about the frequency, vibration, and energy, you can tie this down to the spirit, soul, body. You can tie this down into the you could tie it down into gas, liquid, solid. Or let's start it off. Frequency, vibration, energy. Liquid, solid, gas, solid, liquid. Unconscious, subconscious, conscious. You know what I'm saying? I said solid. There's so many realms of realities you could put this motherfucker shit in. You know what I'm saying? Spirit, soul, body. So, what you understand, the spirit is you. But to become an individual spirit, you have to move in your own direction. That's becoming a soul. So you become an individual spirit to understand your own individual concept of this astral travel. So you become a space within a space. Your spirit is your space. So that's what makes you a soul. You're smokeless, flameless, you're odorless, smokeless, non-flammable, quote unquote, terms gas. I hate using that word because scientific, y'all try to logically put me in a debate with that. But for the most part, that's why I don't even like to call it that. But then, that's when you become an individual soul. Now, you get your information from the overall spirit. So when you bounce back and forth from that, you create a vortex, aka an energy signature, aka that what becomes the conscious. That becomes last. You're not that. You're the spirit becoming a soul, right? But you need a body to go into. So you do that by getting into the spirit, and understanding your own individual magic within that. And then when you bounce back and forth and do that, it creates a vortex, your energy signature. And then that's based upon resonation and natural selection. It moves you through the astral travel, and then through that astral travel, you'll go through an astral travel of a spirit that became a soul that did that before you. So they already then created energy, aka created shapes and forms and lights and stars and sounds and gases in order to inhabit, to experience that realm of reality. From a less dense all the way to a heavy dense. However that realm of reality is correlated. So that's the third dimension. That's what we create. We create our bodies. We create the illusion. We create the shit to vibrate slow and shit like that. We create if something vibrating high or slow. We act out as the expressions within these shapes and forms that we create to go into to inhabit as vessels. You see what I'm saying? So that's last. You are the frequency vibration, but you are not the energy. You are the gas and the liquid, but you are not the solid. The solid always has to transform. You created that mechanism for yourself. You see what I'm saying? You are the spirit and the soul. You are not the body. You see what I'm saying? And you could break that down into so many other realms of realities. It goes so deep. I'm trying to think of them. But all my scientists out there, y'all probably already know. Y'all probably already got words for it and shit, and then created other doctrines to go against that shit. So you put yourselves in lesser type situations where you can just put yourself back up to the highest frequency of it. You see what I'm saying? And that's all I'm here for. You know, frequency is like a line of event, a timeline, a sense of direction, but it's just a flat line and it don't move yet. Now, once that line of event gets experienced, has some movement, that's what comes second. So now we got second time, movement, fluid experience. You get to experience going through that timeline. So now the frequency is vibrating. So a person not dead. The flat line is actually moving now. And then within all that, they start to create shapes and forms within that they can inhabit in their lifetime, in their lifespan, to experience that at a slower rate. So your spirit is just going in that vibration that you created for yourself. But that vibration was light spectrums and sounds and concepts that you created out of that vortex. But you're not that, because once that expire and transform, your spirit still vibrates out of that shit and go into another part that you created. So you're creating imaginations and dreams. So this is what you need to understand. That's what your consciousness is. So don't get all wrapped up, scientists, and trying to learn consciousness in your own scientific way. You need to understand it from that this is something that you're already developing. Because when you was a baby, you wasn't as consciously aware of what you're consciously aware of now. So based upon the things that you have experienced throughout your life, that developed your conscious awareness. That developed your light bodies. Right? Right? So why is you trying to understand where that came from? It came from your fucking spirit, which you resonate with. Your natural selection. That's why you're manifesting all this shit that you're manifesting in your motherfucking life. Flight boss, bitch. Goddamn air. Tell you motherfucking scientists, holla at me, man. Holla at the goddamn Archangel Uriel. Goddamn, I love y'all on Earth.